Three guys chilling on a podcast. Social distancing because it is cool.
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to whoever and wherever you are. My name is Harry Barr. This is the 27th podcast, and as always, I'm joined by the wonderful Ben Butler and Joscel and Harry. Guys, how are you?
Morning, everybody.
Good morning, Harold and Joscel.
Good morning. And all the listeners. Good morning, all the listeners. How are we? Or whatever you're doing this, I don't know.
Yes, please just respond to us through the medium of Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
We have an email as well. You can always send us an email.
Yeah, by all means.
Send in your stories. We'd love to hear them.
Write in. Tell us how you're feeling. Guys, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm okay, man. I'm not too bad. I'm just pretty. A lot has been going on this week. I think everyone can say that.
A lot has happened. I know this sounds weird, but it was like obviously all the stuff that's going on is absolutely mental, and rightfully so. But it was kind of nice to just not like the coronavirus to kind of taking a back seat, which is nice not to talk about. I know it's weird, but it is something different to talk about.
Yeah,
and I think that's been quite. Obviously, it's very important, and obviously, I'm all for it. But I think it was quite nice to have a change of topic and kind of give a bit of sanity to some people, because I know coronavirus lockdowns was killing them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, guys, for this week's Nothing to Watch, we decided to watch the Netflix documentary Becoming, which follows Michelle Obama on her book tour going across America. Firstly, guys, what were your thoughts on the whole documentary?
It was so good. I
Incredible.
come out of it, and I loved her before, but now I love her. Like she's just amazing. And I think it was really, really good. What I enjoyed about it most is that it did speak of Barack Obama, but it just solely focused on her rather than
he wasn't.
What I was worried about watching it, was that they talk about his presidency and her during that time rather than like her life and her experiences. So it was really interesting. It was just really interesting she's such an honest and open person. And just she's just a lovely person. Like she's just so caring.
It's just
it's so smart.
The first thing stood out to me when I was watching it was when she did the first book signing. And she just had this massive queue of people, and like she made a point to sort of ask them, who they are, what they do, like how their life is at the moment, and like didn't break any eye contact. It just made them all
look them in the eyes. Yeah,
important person in the world.
Yeah, that's what she said, wasn't it?
20 seconds. Yeah.
It was like listen to their story. Don't look past them or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's insane to me. Like I knew she had an impact in Obama's campaign process, but I didn't realize just how much of an impact she had and what she actually
I've
did.
literally written on the Google Doc, I was like, I don't think Obama would have won without her. I actually think that she pushed it so much because she is so inspiring and so insightful that she made such a difference.
Yeah. Absolutely. And with scrutiny through the media as well and all that kind of stuff. That was insane for her to go through, to be honest. And she to still come up with go through with what she did, and like obviously Obama winning the presidency, her being the first lady, all that kind of stuff was just an accomplishment.
But how can you, like, touching on the point of the media, how can you vilify her? What about her? I mean, is there anything that portrays anger? And like the way they were talking about her, they were like labeling her in the press as like an angry woman, and they were saying that if she spoke her mind, that would be her downfall and things like that.
Yeah. And did you see when they were doing the fist bump at one of the things?
Oh yeah, it was like a terrorist fist. Yeah.
What?
Fox News is one of the strangest things to watch.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is crazy.
It's like ridiculous how you can do that.
Yeah, I mean that was only 12 years ago as well, and it just it is so strange just to see how they were attacking them. I remember they said like, if there was one journalist saying, well, if we can't prove that Barack Obama's a Muslim, the one thing we can do is push that Michelle Obama is a crazy black woman. And I'm just like, how? I don't understand how you could be that aggressive towards something. I'm just like,
I think that it's going to fit really well with our conversation today. Talking about feminism and women just being labelled as angry when they want they're just speaking out or something, and it just always you do that, or I do my all right.
You know,
when you lot get angry, I go, all right.
Yeah,
it's just outrageous that they can do that to her. And yeah, she's just amazing. And it was so nice to see. She just is a normal person. Like she just really, like when she's bopping out to Drake and she's like, I just love like music. She's like, I love all types of music.
Got like an eclectic taste,
Playlist stuff.
Yeah, but then like her chief.
And I liked all the relationships she had with her. Yeah, with her staff,
with her little work. Her colleagues.
Well, it told like a little bit about each one. So like, I think the first one they spoke about was her chief of staff, and she was like, "I quit a job of 10 years to work with Michelle because I knew that she was like something special," and like she's been working with her since the 2008 campaign, I think, and. You can tell they're just such good friends as well, and it works really well.
Yeah,
and then like I think the chief security officer as well. Like he's been working with her for.
I really like that.
Yeah,
and I love that his favorite pictures were ones of them.
Oh yeah,
in the background. It was so sweet.
Yeah,
and then what I also loved is that she keeps her family still really close to her. Like her brother's part of her team.
Yeah.
Her mum always is with her and things like that. I think that's so nice. And you know, she hasn't like left them behind or anything.
Yeah. No, I would honestly just love to sit down and talk to her, like just have her on the podcast. And Michelle, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on.
Imagine, boys, old even. Oh my god, if Michelle Obama came on his podcast.
It would be unreal. But I think something that was really, really eye-opening about it was when she spoke about her relationship with Barack, and she was talking about, you know, obviously when she was, you know, a lawyer, and then she had to give up her career to look after her children, and like Barack Obama could go to the gym, and she used to get like angry at him for going to the gym. And she was like, well, why does he get to go to the gym? Why don't I get to go to the gym? And she said this point, and I think it's so, so true, is that she said, my happiness shouldn't be dependent on him. So she said, well, I can't be angry at him for going to the gym, so I'm just going to go to the gym as well. I need to make time for myself to go to the gym. So she looks at it like that, rather than being, and I think it's really important for relationships, actually. You know, your happiness shouldn't rely on the other person.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a factor, but you need to make your own happiness as well. And you need to be able to be dependent from that person in order to have a healthy and fulfilling relationship. Right. And I think for her to openly talk about that, and then talk about, you know, that they went through marriage counselling as well, is really, really important, because I think people are so afraid to seek help sometimes. But to see such a prolific couple, you know, seeing that prolific couple have done it, then it.
Well, you know, I think when I was watching that segment, I was like, oh, marriage counselling. People think that like marriage counselling has such a negative connotation to it in terms of like it's deteriorating marriage, it's not going well. So when I heard that they went through marriage counselling to better their relationship, I was like, oh wow, like that changed my perception to marriage counselling a bit in a way, because look at them, like they're literally such an amazing family, and I thought
they are the dream couple. Come on, I thought
it was on a front for publicity because he was the president and stuff. But even behind closed doors, you can tell there's genuine love there. And like when he appeared at one of her book things, and they were like just still bantering on the stage.
Great. Yeah,
that was so big. That was like, wow. I was like, this is such a beautiful marriage and a beautiful family.
To be fair, though, I mean, like they were. She said that like they were just that one night. They were just, you know, just a normal family, and then like that, when the result was announced, they were the first, you know, they were the president, the first lady, and the daughters of the White House. So you can imagine why they would need marriage counselling for something like that. It's just crazy, just how these situations.
It is a very abrupt change to your life.
Flipped on its head, you know.
I think it's. But I think people are so afraid to get help, and there's such a stigma behind receiving help, and you know, it makes you look weak or whatnot. But that's not true. Shut up. Go get help if you need it. You know, I could not. You shouldn't look down on someone because they need help.
There is no shame in asking or seeking for help at all. There should be no shame. Yeah, that's crazy.
Another thing I've sort of read on the Google Doc that you put, Ben, that like I also couldn't believe. Well, it didn't surprise me, but I couldn't quite when I heard it, I was like, oh God. And it was when she went to her guidance counselor about going to Princeton, and her guidance counselor just went, yeah, no, you should change your aspirations.
Imagine.
Ooh,
yes.
Ooh.
And she ended up going to Harvard. Yes, Michelle.
Yeah. I just, you can't
believe it.
do that to people.
No.
I just don't think, I think it's so unfair. I think obviously there has to be some leeway, as in, if I went to my mum when I was applying to university, Mum, I want to go to Oxford, she would have been like, Ben, come on. You know, you're not going to get there. And I think that's fair enough. But like, to just be like, she would have been like, oh, I guess if you worked really hard, you could have done it. I didn't. But nonetheless, there obviously has to be some sort of leeway. But she was just vile, that person. They were just,
yeah.
No, I wouldn't even bother. And I think it was because of her, skin color rather than her ability to actually.
Mm-hmm. It's the systematic racism that was in place. But it shows like what good character she had, though, that she didn't sort of like go, oh well, I guess I can't go. She persevered and she ended up going, and then going from Princeton after her doing her law. I still don't quite know the process for law degrees in America, but doing her degree and then finishing it off in Harvard as well, just like as a big like to guidance counselor. For the benefit of the audience, the audio listeners, I just flipped the other guys off. So
yeah, no, it was really inspiring.
Touching on systematic racism, though, is how like there was a segment as well where she was like, there are no bad people. She genuinely had hope for America, and she did anybody in that position.
But wasn't that Obama's campaign?
Yeah, it was.
Was it during Obama's campaign
with the word hope? Underneath.
Hope, yeah.
But yeah, either way, she was like, there are no bad people. There are only good people, and she genuinely had hope in the people.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, the energy that is out there is much bigger than we see. And that hit me so hard. I was like, I paused it and I was like, that is so true. Like, you only see the bad stuff. The press is always negative.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And I think, like through that, you've got to search for the good things, and it is out there. It's just never reported on because it's not of interest for the media. So yeah, it was so good. I'm going to read a book. I don't know about you two, but I'm definitely.
I'm going to listen to a book. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it was so interesting. Yeah. Michelle Obama 2024.
Ooh,
yeah.
I don't know, like, because my mum's watched this, so I spoke about it with her after. She said, I hope she runs for president. But do you reckon she will? Do you think that's something
I'm not sure if she will, but I think if she did,
I don't think she would.
She would have so much like
if she did
respect. And I mean, like, fair though, since Donald Trump became president, anything's possible in politics. So I think if she did run for it, she could get pretty far at least. And then who would Barack Obama as the first husband?
Imagine that, yeah.
I think he'd enjoy.
I reckon, because if you actually watch like their relationship, I reckon he'd be like, well, actually, Miss President, I would do it this way. I reckon he'd try and like,
he'd be president like, proxy.
Piss off.
He's walking like, I remember when this was my office.
Yeah. But no, it was great. I recommend you all go watch it.
Yeah, definitely a watch. But yeah. Okay, guys.
Next week, what's happening?
Next week, I think we are all in agreement that we're going to be watching, given the events in the last 10 to 14 days in America and across the world, we are going to be watching the Netflix documentary 13th, which follows the life of Black people in prison and the systematic racism associated with that.
Oh, guys, I don't know about you, but I think it's time for a trip to the Rusty Club.
Yes, we'll get our guest on now. Our guest this week has been campaigning for women's and minority rights for the last few years and was recently elected her university's women's officer. And she also happens to have a pretty cool cousin. It's the one and only Lily Grimshaw. Lily, how are you?
Hello. How are we all doing?
Cracking. Right, good on you. Well done. Great stuff.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So Lily, we've obviously got you on to talk about feminism, sort of like your views on it, history, where it's going in the future. But I don't think we can really start without addressing the the movement in the last 10 days since the passing of George Floyd and in the Black Lives Matter movement. And I know you've been quite instrumental in your hometown of organising protests there as well. Just like, well, what's your view on the situation as a whole?
Well, obviously, I think the whole culmination of the last few days, I think, has really, really shocked everyone. But I do think the death of George Floyd was like, it's the straw that broke the camel's back, really. And I think that the amount of like global support that's come out, I think, has been incredible. And I think that it's like the movement has got so much momentum now, and it's so important to sort of keep up this this movement, really. And I think also it's showing in America definitely the reaction from Donald Trump and his absolute failure to sort of get on board with the movement and challenge the issues that are in place. I think is the worst part of it all, because did you see his speech on Monday where he came out and he was like, oh, I'm a force for law and order, I'm your president, and it's like people are literally dying on the streets at the hands of the police, and you're doing nothing to even sort of challenge that and hold anyone to account. Yeah. I mean, the officer who is being charged with George Floyd's murder has been charged, but there are countless other cases that have not been investigated, and the officers have not had any sort of, I think some have been put on paid leave, but that's it. So definitely the straw that broke the camel's back, and it is so heartbreaking that it had to take a video that graphic for people to actually take an interest.
What do you think? What do you think are the next steps? What do you want to see happen? Because obviously the big prevalence is in America, but it is worldwide. And so maybe what do you think we could do here in the UK, and then maybe what do you think you want to see in America to change?
And I think, yeah, that's an incredibly important point. And the reason why there have been protests happening global and in the UK is the fact that it's not just an American issue. You know, there's been police brutality, and there's constant, the systems that are in place at the moment are racialized. Like, you know, the disproportionate amount of stop and searches that happen in the UK to young black boys. And I think that the next steps forward would be probably, for me personally, the UK government holding Donald Trump to account for his failure to sort of deal with the situation. And I don't know if you've seen the petitions going around about the UK still selling at the sale of like riot gear and rubber bullets and stuff. Yeah. So I think they're the next short-term steps that can happen. But long-term, I think we need to be holding our government to account and questioning the systems that we have in place. And I saw one of the comments yesterday, like on the article about the protest that happened in Cambridge, it was like, oh, we should just let the Americans like deal with their problems, like it's nothing to do with us. And it's just like, no, actually, no, it is happening here. No, and it might be happening a lot subtler areas, but it is happening here, and it is, yeah.
Yeah, no, I saw in Lincoln, my hometown, there was a protest as well, and the comments on the article that people like wrote about it was just comment after comment after comment of people like, oh, why is it our problem? Here come the lefties. Here's this. I'm like, yeah, it's just they're just completely missing the whole point of the movement, and you know the fact that change to come, and it makes me sad.
Yeah, no, it is, and I think also, alongside the fact that people are saying that it's only an American problem, you've got obviously the argument of like the All Lives Matter movement, and it's like, or the Blue Lives Matter movement, and it's like, you know, nobody is ever, that whole argument really frustrates me, because nobody is ever questioning that all lives don't matter. It's the fact that, you know, marginalised people of colour have been oppressed and continue to be oppressed, and over the course of history. And I think that to even try and turn the conversation away from the people of colour by stating that all lives matter, like white lives matter and stuff, is so counterproductive and completely beside the point. It really infuriates me. It's just like, actually, no, we need to actually answer the problems that are going on and not turn the conversation back onto us. Really angers me.
So how about we move on from that to another issue of equality and, you know, injustice. So, you know, we were going to talk to you about feminism, and I want to know, firstly, what is feminism to you?
Feminism to me is equality for all individuals, whether you're straight, gay, black, white, whatever your ethnicity, background, race, sexuality. It is equality and equal opportunity for all. And I think, God, I don't like a generalization, but I think when people think of feminism, I think of people hating men, basically, and it's not that. We just want an equal playing field. We want to feel safe and have just as much opportunity as anyone else does.
So, as Harry said, you've been elected as your women's officer at uni for next year.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to change then? What do you hope to do as in that position?
So, with running up to the election and stuff, we wrote basically a manifesto of things that I wanted to change. And one of the key ones is sort of changing the sort of university's response and approach to conversation about sexual consent. So I think that it's definitely at university in particular, consent still remains very much of an important issue and something that is like sort of brushed under the rug, brushed under the carpet rather. So I wanted to sort of change, so I have some compulsory sessions for first years coming in about lessons about sexual consent. I want to be holding the sports teams accountable for their sexist chants. I'm sure you guys have had experiences of, in different degrees or in different forms of like misogyny and sexism that you've experienced and maybe you haven't been able to call out. And there were some other ideas as well. I wanted to, because obviously the women's officer covers all BME students as well, and so it's quite a wide remit. So I wanted to make sure that I'm representing BME students as well. So having like conversations with them and how we could move forward and making sure all the students' needs are cared for, really.
Yeah. Well, so it's even interesting that in the last, even just 3 years that we've been at university, the American football team, we've had the university sort of created a new position on the committee, which is the welfare officer, which basically just is the move towards sort of making it a more sort of open level discussion and sort of looking for people's mental health as well. So even in the last 3 years, there's definitely been change. I'm glad that sort of the women's officer role as well is now taken off in so many universities. Yeah,
definitely. And I think it's like, I think the whole problem with it, when people think it's women's officer, it addresses only issues that are, affect women. And actually, while that might be somewhat the case, I think it's addressing issues that both men and women face, but the issues that men don't feel maybe particularly they can talk about. So one of my other ideas is I basically want to bring in like body neutrality campaigns. So it's basically the idea of like talking about eating disorders and setting up some welfare sort of seminars and stuff at the university, because I know that body dysmorphia, body image issues are issues that guys face as well. And it's about creating that safe space that for guys also to talk about things that affect them that maybe they haven't been able to do so before. I think it's just about sort of creating a safe space for people to sort of discuss their different issues and things.
Do you see it as a negative that there is a women's officer? Do you see that as a downfall in our society because we have to have a position where you have to represent and put forward women's rights and things and change what you think how the uni goes and things?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's I think it's representative of the fact that women and marginalised groups, minority groups, do obviously need more representation and more focus on them because historically their rights have not been put at the forefront. But saying that, I think that it's not really an issue because it's a really key tool for making sure that everybody is looked after, everybody's issues are addressed. And it's about sort of directly communicating with those groups rather than having sort of like say if we didn't have a women's officer, for example, we have a sports activities officer, it's sort of like, it's like a umbrella, it's more of it would be more of an umbrella system, whereas you're actually dealing with specific issues that are there for that reason.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, a negative and a positive, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask this to all three of you. I'll start with Joscel and Harry and then move on to Lily. What do you think is the most prominent issue within feminism?
I'll start with that. I think it is the stigma attached to it. Like I've in the last sort of 15 years of being aware of what's going on, I guess, I've noticed that I have a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I'm pro equal rights, but I wouldn't call myself a feminist." I'm like, "Well, no, you are a feminist. You are believing that." I think there is the stigma that,
by definition, you actually are.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, so I don't like ice cream, but I just like eating this really nice, tasty thing, just like ice cream, and is ice cream. I don't like ice cream.
Gelato.
Yeah, but
Sorbet.
That's literally the one thing that I don't understand. I do not understand why. I don't understand why men in particular. I mean, that's probably painting on the same brush. But every person that I've had this discussion with, who are male, they do have a difficulty admitting that they're feminist. Does that make sense? Like, I am very much an advocate for equal pay for women. Like, if anything, if women are better equipped to do something than a man, by all means, she should have that. Does that make sense? I don't understand why guys have such a difficulty admitting that and come to terms with that. Does that make sense? And
definitely. And I agree with you.
Ego thing. Like, why?
Yeah, I think, I don't know what it is. I feel like, I mean, one of the big issues of like feminism is like this idea of toxic masculinity. It's like, it's dealing with the different issues that guys, because feminism is for guys just as much as it is for girls. Even though we're calling out misogyny, we're calling out sexism and stuff, it's because there is some ingrained thing by society that men feel like they have to treat women that way. And I think to call yourself a feminist is very much still, like you said, a stigmatized term. Would you guys call yourself feminists?
Yeah.
Yes,
absolutely, I would.
Good.
100%. But a question that I kind of pose to the boys specifically is how, like, okay, so let's say, for example, your wife to be, like your wife or whatever, clearly has a better, like, in terms of income, she's got a higher income than you have. Does that make you feel any way, like, does it make you feel any less masculine? Because that is essentially what the issue is with guys in the feminine world. They feel like if they can't provide, if they can't do this, if they feel threatened that their significant half or like a female or whatever is better than them in any way, shape or form, they can't come to terms with that. They can't accept that. Does that make sense? Is that something that would be a discomfort to you, or is that something that you'd be like, do you know what, my wife's doing bits, fair enough?
Yeah, no, all the power to her. If my wife is earning more than me, I'm like, oh, cool, can I have a car, please? Thank you. But yeah, no, I mean, I
don't think I see it as an issue. I think I'm quite a competitive person by nature, so I think I would want to have the better job, but I think I would also compare that to my friends as well. If I knew Harry was earning 10 grand more than me, I would try and find a job that would earn 5 grand more than him. Like, that is something I do. I would be quite competitive in that aspect, so I don't think it's necessarily just, if my wife had a better job than me. I think everyone.
I think that's such an interesting thought, because I think it is the idea that I think a lot of men would feel threatened by that because of the whole stereotypical, like, men as the provider, women stay at home. And I think it's sort of on the flip side of that, you've got men who are the stay at home dads, and it's like, how do people in society still receive that, even though there's like so many gains being made in that sense? I still do think that the stereotypes and the assumptions are still there. I'd
like to put myself in a position where I could, in an ideal world for myself, I would like to earn enough money where my wife didn't have to work, but I would always make it her choice. I would never say stay at home. I'd say, well, you want to work? Do you not? Like, that is the ideal position I'd like to be in. So yeah.
Why do you think that is though? Why, as in, like, you'd like to be...
just more for what, as in, do you think, why would I want to be the one earning money?
Or why would you want to be in a position where your wife doesn't have to work? Just because of financial stability?
I just think financial stability, and I think it's just a nicer life as well. Like, I think, working can really stress you out, and I really like creative stuff. So if my wife wanted to say she loved baking but never thought that would be a foreseeable career, I'd be like, go open a bakery, we're okay, like, we got the backing to do it. So that's what I'd like, people to do.
I think it's about, obviously, the thing with income and money and stuff. It's about, once you reach that level, it opens those more opportunities, and then you have that privilege to be able to be like, of course everyone would want to go and do those creative things, and it's just about reaching that point. I don't know, I feel like for me personally, I would never, it doesn't sound bad. It's like I would never want to be in a position where my husband earns more than me, and I know that I don't even care about money that much, but I think for me, because I'm such a, I guess, competitive person, I'd never want to be financially dependent on someone, or have that disparity in income. But I think that is just me.
I think that's really going on that point. I wouldn't want my wife to be like, I have to rely on me. I'd want them to have, like, if they want it, to have their own income so they can do whatever they want. Like, I think that's so important.
Absolutely.
Just so you can't control everything. Like, I don't want it to be like a controlling
honestly,
situation.
You have to do this, you have to do that,
So what do we men need to do to change?
Wow. Where do I start?
Jesus, mate.
What's a big question?
What do you think the biggest changes that we can make are to, make everyone equal?
I think everybody, and I think this doesn't just apply to feminism, I think this is very, very applicable to the current situation. I think everybody has a responsibility to be calling out the wrongdoings that they see in their day-to-day lives. So whether that's going from racist jokes to making sexist jokes to having assumptions about people, I think it's just like, it is a responsibility that we have, particularly at this moment, to, number one, educate ourselves on different people's experiences, and also to then actively challenge those. So I had a conversation with my parents last night. I came home from the protest and I was just feeling ridiculously emotional, and I think also consuming so much information over the past week, because I finished university and then I'm just going on the protest and reading stuff. And it's like, it's just about talking to people about different issues that you wouldn't normally feel comfortable doing that with. So for you guys, it might be if there's like a situation at uni and like, I don't know, I'm again using the example of like locker room banter and stuff, and it's actually feeling confident enough to be able to be like, actually no, I disagree with that, can you just be quiet, or why are you treating this girl in this way, or why are you saying those things? And it doesn't even have to be like, you don't have to be politically engaged to actually call out the wrongdoings, do you know what I mean? And I think people seem to have that assumption that you have to be an intellect to have these conversations, when you don't. You just have to actually be aware and educate yourselves.
Well, I grew up playing rugby from the age of 5 and up, so I've been in a lot of locker rooms and change rooms and stuff, and I've heard stuff over the years, and I really, really wish I had just stood up and called it out, because it's not on. I think Logan Paul of all people said, this Black Lives Matter thing, it's not good enough just to be not racist now, you have to be anti-racist. And I think it's not enough to be not misogynistic, you have to be anti-misogynistic. I think that's where the change has to come from, I think. And also that quote is not enough to be non-racist, it need to be anti-racist, with Angela Davis. I'm not having Logan Paul take that. Logan Paul's a bad human, I'm sorry. Did you see him?
Logan Paul can't say something nice like that.
Did you see him actually looting the videos on Twitter of him?
That was Jake Paul.
That was his brother.
That was his brother.
Yeah, he got
they're
arrested.
all bad. The point is, I think, is definitely to sort of take the onus on you, and like, it's not up to anybody else to educate yourselves. You have a responsibility. And also, I think moving on, like with the whole thing that's been going on in the last week, it's about not letting it become a social media trend, like the black box posting and stuff, and it's not enough to do that. You need to be actively trying, or just it's really gets you.
So if we went back in looked at the original ideology of like feminism, which is for everyone to be equal, not just women, but like everyone, as you said earlier, gender, skin color, whatever, sexuality. Do you think that modern day feminism still has those core principles, or do you think that it's perhaps gone a bit further? And I want to with that, I want to say, so sometimes it's like these riots. You get the anarchists, so you get the people that just want to cause up a storm rather than perhaps protesting what they actually, what the theme of or the message is. And I'm sure don't really know, but there must be cases where women are, I don't know, have there ever been protests that have gone a bit tits up in a way and like throwing, I don't know, stuff like that. But do you think, so basically, do you think the core ideologies are still prominent, or do you think it's gone a bit further than that? And now it is, as you were saying earlier, women hate men, screw the men, let's get rid of them all.
I think with that, if anything, I think it might have gone the opposite way. I think if you look back at the history of feminism, and as people see the history of feminism, the suffragette movements to getting political rights, at that time, it was only important to get the political rights, whereas now we've got obviously got the gay rights movement, you've got the 70s, you've got different groups of people, so marginalized people coming together and actually calling out feminism, because feminism hasn't always been intersectional. It's never looked after all women's rights. It's because it was in the beginning, and in America as well, it was very much focused on white women's rights. So if anything, I think it's become more intersectional, and now I think more people are talking about the different forms of oppression that different women face. But I do think there is always going to be a tendency with riots and with protests for, like, you can see the examples in America of what, like, the Antifa group, the white supremacist group, basically, basically jumping on that and using it as a chance to say fuck the system. Sorry, I'm not sorry. No. Anyway, F you to the system. But I do think that really loses the importance of the protest. But I think feminism has become a lot more aware, and there's still a lot of work to be done on that. But yeah.
Do you think the small I'm going to say small gestures because I believe they are. So when men offer seats to women or pay for dinner, things like those, do you find those patronizing, like those sort of gestures, or not? Because I've read quite a few articles that say men need to stop doing that, and I've
been in full-blown arguments with people.
Yeah, and I was like,
I'm going to pay for the date. No, I'm going to pay for the date. Oh god.
As in, they expect you to pay for the date.
What? No. As in, the men is saying, "Oh, I'll do it," but then you perhaps find it patronizing because you're like, "Well, you're only doing it because you're the man." Like,
yeah, exactly.
Stop with this narrative. Like,
I think I have such a problem with that because I can see both. I can see why people would think it patronizing, but also, like, it's just being a good human being. Like, there is no expectation. There should be no expectation for a guy to pay for a date. That is another stereotype that is absolutely rubbish and should be gone. But it's just about being a nice person. Like, if you see someone on a train, like, offer them up the seat. Like, do you want to, like, always split the dinner? Always, I don't know. It's equality, right? It's not supposed to be a two-way thing.
But I'm feeling this. And
then that's the problem, because conversations like that take it away from the importance of feminism, because people are like, oh, you don't want to pay for the date. It's like, actually, no, there's so many bigger issues.
I've been on a date before, and I was like, "Oh, I'll pay for this." She went, "Well, no, I've got a job, and you're a student. I'll pay for this bit. You can." So we just ended up splitting that way.
I mean, that's fair enough. Like, you just got to be like aware of the people's economic.
To be honest, like when initially, I've always had it during my head where, like, the man always pays for the date or whatever, standard. And I've been on a fair few dates where that was the case, where I'd be like, no, I'm going to pay. But then I went on one date where this girl was like literally went in the mood with me because I was like, I'm going to pay for the bill because it's I almost said male prerogative, which is probably would have tipped her right off. But like, I was like, no, I'm going to pay for it. And then she actually went in on me. And ever since then, I was like, I'm going to pay for the bill. And she'd be like, no, I wouldn't go 50-50. I was like, okay. Okay, we can go 50-50. I reckon 50-50 is becoming Do you reckon 50-50 is becoming the norm now? Do you reckon that whole idea of men should pay for the first date?
I think so.
Is just becoming
so. See, I like paying for the first date, but then
that's what I was going to say. The
I
first
think
date's
that's the middle ground. I think that's the middle ground. First date, man can pay after that. Go for it.
I think there are some times where I would say, whatever we're doing, I would pay for it because I think it's just a nice gesture sometimes. Not all the time, not to assert my dominance,
but like
just to, because we go to the cinema. I'm like, right, I'll get your snacks, whatever, because they come in at like 50 quid anyway. So that's a nice thing. So like I wouldn't ever do it to.
I think it's just being a nice human at the end of the day. Like,
just be a dick.
I hope so.
Don't be a dick. I think that's the end of the message.
Don't be a dick.
So Lily, I've got a couple more questions for you.
Yes.
One is, if there was one resource that everyone could go read, listen to, view, watch to educate themselves, what would it be?
Oh my God. What, like one book?
One book, one podcast, one TV show, one film that you've seen that, really resonates with you.
This podcast is perfect, really.
Okay, I think the one book that everybody should be reading right now is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race.
Yes!
By Rainier de Lodge.
Great book. Oh my God.
Incredible book. She just puts across such a clear argument as to why, as a boy, everyone has a responsibility to educate themselves. And it is just so clear cut and such a clear message that everyone just needs to get right now. So that's one. And she's an incredible woman as well.
I mean, I got excited. I'm only one chapter in, but that's what
it's brilliant. You are in.
I've only read the blurb, but it's
all it took was one chapter, and I'm in. I reckon it's going to be sick.
She's brilliant. Really, really good.
So, Lily, do you think we will ever get to a point where everyone is equal?
Oh God, it's such a pessimistic answer. No. I would like to think so, yes. I think there are definitely in my lifetime, there are big movements that can be made, definitely. But I think that the levels of inequality in this country and the systems that are in place, that it needs reworking, the whole distribution of wealth. I mean, I'm talking like a bloody communist here, but something needs to give. I mean, capitalism isn't working. Austerity policies are the worst things that have happened to this country in the last 10 years. So hopefully, and I think there have been, my parents said to me last night, they were like, you need to actually think about all the positive changes that have come as well. Like, it is a very upsetting and scary time for a lot of people, but also, we have made big movements in the last however many years, and there's still a lot of work to do. But I think definitely, big changes.
Now, Lily, I think probably the most important question you'll ever be asked in your life is, in order to become a member of the Rusty Club, what is your favourite ABBA song?
Oh, my favourite ABBA song? That is a big question. I think Mamma Mia. The song.
Classic. A classic.
The classic. It just has to do it. I love that.
Lily, this has been a great discussion. It's really sort of opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. Where can people find you? On Instagram, on Twitter, wherever? Shout it out now.
Instagram is at Lily_Grimshaw, I think. Also follow the Cambridge for Black Lives page, because up and running, great protest, and there's just a lot of information there on there. Thank you for having me, guys. I loved it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on.
Big love.
See you soon. Another massive thank you to Lily for coming on, and you might not have picked up on it, but she did want everyone to go and follow Cambridge for Black Lives on Instagram, which is a really good cause for the Black Lives Matter movement. So guys, have you seen anything in the news this week that's been particularly interesting?
Well, apart from everything that's going on, you've got some quite exciting stuff, I guess. Carol Baskin, throwback to the first episode that we did, has finally got control of Joe Exotic Zoo. And I believe Jeff, what's he called? Jeff. I'll put in a really
the other guy that invested.
the other guy. I'll put in a really robotic like
Jeff Lowe
invested. The other guy that invested in the zoo, he basically told her that he's gonna, that she's got dead bodies on her zoo and she shouldn't, and he's gonna leave it in a tip. Basically, he's gonna destroy it for her when she gets taken over. So it's good to see that there are still some good people in the world.
I honestly, I just can't wait for when they do turn it into a movie, and I think they've cast Nicolas Cage to be Joe Exotic, which I think is just perfect casting.
They haven't actually, have they?
I thought they were rumored. Yeah, I think they are going to cast it.
Yeah. I think they're rumors, but I don't. I haven't actually seen anything.
If they did Nicolas Cage as Joe Exotic, it would be insane. It would be so funny. Nicolas Cage, what?
Yeah,
that would be incredibly odd.
Mm-hmm. So,
who would be Carol Baskin though?
Dolores Umbridge.
Yeah, I was about to say Imelda Staunton. I was thinking that is exactly the person to play.
Shout.
Oh,
that's a good shout.
Oh.
One must not lie. Hey, cats and kittens. I'm sure that could work. Yeah, it could. She's a good actress. So.
Yeah, she's a good actress. She's played the Queen, I think, or she's playing the Queen. I don't know. I haven't watched it.
No, she played the Queen's mum, didn't she?
Oh, I don't know.
I think she played the Queen's mum. I don't know. Crown is sick though. You should all go watch that if you haven't watched it. Very good. Oh, football's coming back. Premier League is back June 17th, I believe. So 17th. Not the when. Oh, so a week today the episode comes out.
Oh, fantastic!
So a week when the episode comes out.
Yeah.
So that is really exciting, and I can't wait for that. But apart from that, I think next week, episode 10, baby.
The Big 10 is going to be the. It's so we have had a discussion about sort of every 10th episode. We will be going through our life of living together as a house, and we have over the last year been writing. It's very cheesy, but we've been writing a list of the 27 antics, and we'll be picking one of those to talk about in the next episode. As well as that, we do have we're going to be having more games, but we thought it'd be best to have a games master, and we are having returned to the podcast Mr. James Kennedy. He is probably the most excited we've ever had a guest to be returning. He's just really looking forward to it, and I think it'll be a really fun time.
Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you all next week. Rate us on Apple Music, because that's the only thing you can rate us on. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Give it a like.
Hit the like button.
Hit that ding dong bell so you get notifications when we post.
Yeah.
We are very
Let's go.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Absolute pleasure. Goodbye. Sayonara. Arrivederci. Ciao.
See you guys next week.